Hey guys, it's Sonia here. How are you today? No, seriously, are you in an ooh la la kind of mood? I don't even know which podcast I'm recording. Let's take a quick check, shall we? Thank you so much for being here today. It is March 6th, 2025 is when I am doing this live recording. Well, how about this? Recording this information, recording my podcast as I am double checking right now where I last left off. How many of you are in that same boat where sometimes you don't even know what day it is because you're so much in the groove and in the flow. All right, I found it. Let's see where I'm at. I can't believe I didn't do this beforehand, but I'm pretty honest this way. Let's go look at all of my episodes. It's not showing me in the order I want to see it. It is showing me, all right, 183 was my last episode, and it was all about Your Story Matters. And I had talked about 8 pages in my book. Now this is going to be episode 184. And today we are talking about the cost of hiding. So, if you've landed on my episode, my name is Sonia. I am a holistic health coach. I've been in the industry for over 18 years. Started off as a certified personal trainer. Then I moved on to healthy eating and weight loss. And finally, I don't want to say the buck stopped here because this is really where the door opened. I became an NLP practitioner and applied that to my life coaching practice. So, what does this mean for you? I'm coming to you with a whole bucket load of professional and personal experience. And this makes all of the difference in the world. It makes all of the difference when you're working with a coach. It makes all of the difference when you are working with somebody who you aspire to be like. And it helps me that you know where I'm coming from. Because as an NLP practitioner, like I said, I'm always opening the gateway and that stairwell, if you would, to new opportunities, to whatever comes my way. And lately, I've been geeking out on my human design. And it's very interesting because I'm a very unique design. So I'm a generator, but I'm also a 4-1 profile, which means I'm a networker. I highly love being around people, and it is part of my core being to be around people. That's what a line 4 is. So this is what I outwardly do, and this is how the world sees me, and this is how I see myself. But I'm also a 1. This is my private side. This is my subconscious side. This is what the world sees of me. And that means I'm a researcher. I'm an investigator. I am always trying to figure out the details behind everything. So it makes today's episode completely fitting on so many levels. So I want to thank you first for sticking around. If you're still here, great. We've got an exciting episode ahead for you. I have not done one in a couple of weeks. I should have made that one of my goals. And this is something that we're going to chat about very briefly is some of my goals. So I'm just getting my notes set up. Sometimes, well, lately, probably because of perimenopause and menopause and everything I'm going through, it does help to write things down. It does help to have a point list and point form of things I want to go over to help you, to help get my point across. So, when I say I'm going to share with you my goals, it's part and parcel with today's topic. And as you would have caught by the subject line, today's podcast title is called What's Hiding Costing You? A holistic peek behind the curtain. See, there are so many layers to this that we're going to be peeling back. Now I'm hosting this solo today, but I know there are going to be so many comments that come from this episode. So I'm going to do my best to keep it witty insightful, slightly irrelevant from some of my facts, just to keep it real, just to keep it authentic, just to keep it where you need to receive it, where this is exactly where you need to receive it. And one of the things I'm noticing as I'm chatting with you on this is how elevated my voice is, how excited I am to do this. And that speaks volumes. So, you ready? Okay, yeah, that's why I don't do my own intro. One of the things will one day have all of my shows have an intro and an outro, but at this point, we're not there yet. So welcome back. You're beautiful. You're my beautiful cluttered souls. You know, this holistic hilarity that I'm going to unpack today. This podcast, as usual, tackles a bit of mess with life and a side of mindful mischief. Because without those things, who are we? Boring. Who's with me? We're boring. So today we're diving in. We're diving in deep, not into a yoga pose, although that might be coming later, but into the murky depths of what we hide. See, yes, those tiny, dark little secrets inside of us, those tucked away traumas, those, well, those questionable snack choices you made last Tuesday. Because let's face it, what's hiding is costing you. What is hiding is costing you. And it's not just your dignity. We're going to explore how different hiding has an impact and it affects your physical, your mental, and your spiritual well being. We're going to tap on all of this, in all of this, around all of this. And I'm going to share some of my experiences as of late, um, which will bring this all up to speed. It'll be a great little chat. Oh, I have water. I was saying I should have grabbed a tea, but I have water with me. So just a sidebar for 2 seconds, because I am doing a video component to this. I am recording this with a video component. There will be a video component. So if you're listening to the podcast on any of my favorite or my favorite, your favorite platforms, go ahead and take the time right now to like, follow, comment, subscribe. Get that done right here, right now, before we jump into this episode. If you are a person that likes to see things and feel like we're a little bit closer together, go over to my YouTube channel. The link is included here, and just click that. It'll bring you right to this show, and you can see me. You can see me sometimes looking at my office, drinking my water, playing with my fun pink pen with a heart at the top, and I'm so grateful for this silly little pen. And you'll be able to see my facial expressions and my energy. And I think that is so important. The audio listeners, you get to hear it, you get to feel it in a different way. You get to make up this person who is linking arms with you. And you get to decide whether or not you want to continue on this journey together or if we're just together for today's period of time. Because as you know, people come into your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. But I am a 4-1 generator with human design. I am a master networker. I am meant to connect with you, with other people. So don't be shy in reaching out. Go back and listen to this title. What is hiding costing you? There is a price to pay. So you ready? You ready to get settled into this? We are going to explore how hiding impacts you. Think of this as spring cleaning for your soul, but with more jokes and less scrubbing. Okay, so what inspired me to do this particular episode? And if I had somebody here with me, we could banter a little bit on this, but I had an assignment from my therapist. And my assignment was to identify 6 different goals in 6 different areas of my life. I meet with her in a couple of hours. I just got this done today. I struggled with it. And why I struggled with this is because I was hiding. I was not prepared to face the question, because I was not prepared to do the work because it was safer. It is safer with my chronic illness to continue to hide, right? That way there people don't have to feel sorry for me, or people don't have to be disappointed if I have to cancel. Maybe I couldn't handle the rejection. Actually, I know that's true. I could not handle any kind of rejection when I was in the state of a very dysregulated nervous system, right? But that's not going to help me survive. So I'm trying to push past that. So let's start with the body. Remember how I said, this is going to impact your mind, body, soul, physically, emotionally. You might be crying a lot. You might be going through some sort of phase in your life, maybe a divorce. Maybe you're looking at a new job. With these things comes opportunities for you to show up as the best version of you or to scale back and not use your voice. I remember when I was, I can tell you three different opportunities, and I'm sure they'll ring a bell for you too, but every single time I get hired at a job. Yes, I have my own business. I've had my own business for 18 years, but there's points in time in your life where you reach out and you get some other security blanket underneath you to help you as you're progressing in your business. There's no shame in that. So every time I've worked for another company personally, and let me know if you feel the same, I feel like they hired me because of the person I am. But once I start, that's not who they want me to be. They want me to hide. Okay. I also found the same thing in both of my marriages. Now, maybe that happened not with my second marriage because it happened with my first marriage, and I thought that was natural, but maybe not. So I realized in my first marriage, when I was in a very uncomfortable situation, and this applies to my day-to-day life as well, I will hide. Yes, I'm a confident life coach speaking in front of you, going live daily on social, and I am sharing with you that I will hide in an uncomfortable conversation. Why? Well, one of the reasons is my emotions are colorful. They're loud, they're vivid, and not in a bad way. They normally come as tears or sadness. My emotion shows up through tears, which is release. And not everybody can handle that. And I can't handle that. And let's go back to the fact that I know that I am a human design generator, but I am also an emotional um, generator, which means I'm pointing at my throat here, which means I have to give my body 24 hours to go through the roller coaster of my emotions. So, just in what I've said there in those examples, I'm sure you can come to terms with where you fit um, and some opportunities where you may be hiding. Let's really start with the body here because it's always the snitch. The body tells you everything. You think you're hiding stress? These shoulders right here. Your shoulders are wearing it like a chronic hunch. You know those people, their shoulders are like earrings. They're rolling their back a little bit upward. Um, you're bearing, bearing, bur, burring, uh, bur. I know what I'm trying to say. Like you're digging in the ground. I'm just not popping out the word right now. Burying your emotions. Your gut is telling you something, it's screaming at you, or is your throat screaming at you? You're one way, there's several ways where your body responds to things. The most common way is your throat. You'll either shut down or you'll speak loudly or you'll say things or you'll vocally respond in one way or another. Your sacral, which is your gut instinct. Some people have that right away. That, your gut right there is a staggering rebellion. It's armed with gas. That's right, gas. That is the ultimate emotional barometer. You know, We can talk about how suppressed emotions manifest as physical symptoms, the tension, headaches, the mysterious aches and pains, the, oh, I didn't eat that bloat. Um, it's true. We're emotional eaters, we're emotional spenders, we're emotional. Those things are all connected. And to explore simple ways to release that tension. We can release it from breath work. We can release that tension with a good scream into a pillow. There are different ways. We can meditate daily. Releasing that tension off your body, oh, it's the best gift you can give yourself. And I love the screaming into a pillow act. I was gonna actually do it this morning and I didn't. I haven't done it in a very, very long time, but you take a pillow, you put your mouth right in the middle of it, and you go from the energy of your abs and you lift all of the energy up and out, and you really, really, really let it go. And you want to feel that release in your throat. Okay, who's with me? Who's still with me right now? Wiggle your toes before I continue. Wiggle your toes. That shifts the energy too. It makes you smile. Listening to music is a shift. Okay? Anything that can flip you from one place to another is shifting your energy. And when you shift your energy, you're no longer going to hide yourself, not nearly as much. Because did you know that holding on to secrets can actually raise your cortisol levels? It's true. Your body thinks that you're constantly running from a tiger, when in reality, you're running from telling your boss that you lost the report, which is basically the same thing as running from a tiger, right? The end result isn't necessarily good. And this is what you're stressing about. This is what you're hiding, is that you misplaced the report. It's not good. And we definitely don't want to be wearing our shoulders as earrings. No. So let's talk about the mental maze here. We talked a little bit about the physical. Let's talk about the mental, not necessarily the mental, but hiding isn't just about secrets. It's about the stories we tell ourselves. I'm fine. Everything's perfect. I totally didn't spend my rent money on cheese, wine. Does any of that sound familiar? What stories are you telling yourself? Now, there are good stories and there are good stories that are limiting. If we go back to what I shared at the very beginning, when your nervous system is completely in a dysregulated mode where fight comes up, or maybe freeze comes up for some people, freeze will come up when you think you're moving through the cycle. Freeze will come up to prevent you from doing anything that might be damaging. So freeze will come up to prevent you from doing anything that your body might think cause you damage. So let's use my example for a minute. My real life, hate to admit it, but I'm being perfectly vulnerable and honest example. I reach out to a lot of people in my business. I am the one that, a lot of people know that they need certain things, but they're either not ready or they're not sure who the right person is for them. And in many cases, it's just a matter of letting my ideal client know that I'm here when they're ready, no rush, but here are some of the different things I offer. And in the meantime, here's some incredible value, such as this podcast. Well, I wasn't following up on anything. It was easier for me to prospect and get new information than it was for me to nurture and to follow up on the current clients that I have. Now think about that for a minute. The prospects don't know me from Adam, or maybe they briefly know me. They've maybe had one touch or no touches. In many cases, prospects have had zero touches. They may have seen me somewhere, but not an effort that I've intentionally made. Where current people in my database, current people in my small networking circle, they have been familiar with me. Some of them have seen me 8 to 10 times. And yet I'm not reaching out to them. I don't feel that to be safe. Can you think about why? What's why am I hiding? Yes, I've had a year and a half, almost two, dealing with occipital neuralgia in my head. And if that's not the case, you can tell I'm still trying to identify what it is, but that's the side I'm leaning towards right now, which is inflamed nerves in my head, which has impacted every part of my life, every part. Yes, this is why my nervous system is dysregulated right now. Okay. This is why. And I know why. And normally we can go back and figure out why when we give ourselves the space to look at it. Why are we hiding? Why was I not doing my goal list? Why was I afraid to reach out? I couldn't handle failure. I couldn't handle anything else coming my way. My body was already frozen. Okay. I couldn't be rejected. I couldn't be turned away. It was safer for me to just give away information than it is to ask people to join things or to purchase something from me. That's a great life coach, isn't it? Again, I'm keeping it real. I'm letting you know where in my life, just one place where this has impacted me, where hiding has impacted me. So the narratives, the mental blocks, they create anxiety and a nagging feeling that you're living a double life, that you believe that you're powerful and that you're being vulnerable and you're being authentic in communication, but most importantly, how to rewrite those internal scripts. Okay. Your brain is like a messy desk. If you keep shoving things in the back corner of your brain, eventually you're going to have an avalanche of, I can't find my keys. I can't find my phone. I can't find my sanity. Where did it go? And then there's the spiritual shift. The spiritual side is about hiding secrets which disconnect you from your true self, from your intuition, from that inner spark that makes you you. It's like trying to navigate with a foggy GPS. Gosh, I remember this one time in band camp. No, I'm kidding. My girls and I were going to a dance competition in New York, right across the border. And the GPS had turned right, and it was literally right into Lake Erie. And I'm like, oh, this is wrong. We knew it was wrong. My GPS was being foggy at that moment. It just didn't have time to catch up. And it made us, so we were definitely going in a questionable place if we didn't put two and two together. We're going to explore practices together to help you reconnect with the authentic version of you, from meditation to journaling to simply spending time in nature. And we're going to do this by me sharing with you the goals I wrote down, the goals I'm committing to. That's where we're going to leave a lot of this with. I want you thinking about the goals I've set and how it impacts you based on what you've heard today, knowing that hiding costs you these things. Okay. So we're going to explore different practices to help you reconnect with the real version of you. And we're going to touch on letting go of judgment to both yourself and other people. Because let's be honest, we've all got our quirks. All of us have our quirks. And that feeling of being in alignment? It's a lot of what you're hearing and seeing here. Me talking with my hands, smiling with my eyes, my cheeks are nice and high. You can hear it in my voice. So when you're in alignment, it's like your soul is wearing a pair of shoes that fit perfectly. When you're out of alignment, those shoes feel like they're two sizes too small and you can't get your foot in. That's hiding. Time to tick off those metaphorical shoes and dance barefoot in the metaphorical moonlight. I think that's the magic right there. Let's dance barefoot in the moonlight, in the magical moonlight. Mm. Let me give you a few tips before we go too far. when it comes to hiding, I want to give you a few tips because it feels like we're hiding behind a curtain. I'm going to give you these tips. We're going to go over my goals, and then I will summarize this to a nice, in a wrap it up in a nice pink, pretty bow. All right. So, do you notice how many people hide behind a curtain these days? Men, women, moms, dads. It's easy to feel inadequate, especially when we compare ourselves almost to anything. Almost to anything. It used to just be magazines, it used to be the happy, smiling people, but we can't even go online right now without comparing ourselves to AI, this or that. Um, and the reality is, everything we see, well, not just is a reflection of us, but is a facade. They're not always like that. Even through my experience, all of my experiences, and even through your experiences, knowing that they're not going to be exactly the same, I do have a hunch that our stories are not all that much different. You see, women have hidden behind multiple curtains for generations. The image of a perfect housewife wearing one of those perfect little dresses with an apron over top and their hair curled neatly in the 40s and 50s was a facade that often, and this makes me cringe. So, um, especially in that time where everything looked perfect, it covered alcohol abuse and infidelity. Those were common. They were household occurrences that we were hiding. In the 60s and 70s, we saw culture plummeting from legalism to liberty in a no holds barred attempt to gain a false sense of freedom and self, right? We did that in the 60s and 70s. Well, not me. I was born in the 70s, but our forefathers did, our foremothers did this. And this is part of where we're getting our hiding from. We burned our bras in the 70s and gave free love away, only to end up disillusioned. Solomon was right. There is truly nothing new under the sun. The fact that we hide is not new, but the things we hide behind surely are new. In 2017, we're all hiding behind a screen. The internet is like a giant curtain, and in front of it, everyone's an expert. Every single person is an expert these days. I don't know if anybody else is a country singer but me, but Brad Paisley summed it up nicely in a song, I'm So Much Cooler Online. It was about a younger boy who was pretending to be someone else online. And as a podcaster, as a author, I have seen this really close up and personal, but a lot of the people I've interviewed are not the same online. Many wives and many mothers I've met struggled in their search for significance and sometimes identity. There's one client I worked with, and her life completely shifted from one she was hiding into one she is living. She has never been happier, and she completely converted her life. I don't want to give too much away because that's private, privileged information, and you would want the same kind of respect, but her life is beyond amazing now. And that's because I helped her find her voice. That's because we peeled back the layer of the onions so much that she was comfortable being vulnerable and coming up with a plan to stop hiding. See, the internet, as it turns out, is a great place to hide in plain sight. Authentic living doesn't need to be a platform, it is the pub, and it should be in your life too. What areas are you hiding? Our children need to see us be authentic. Our families need to see us be authentic. If we have any hope in seeing any of our followers, from our nieces and nephews to our children to our students at school to people watching us, listening to us, if we want them to navigate the challenges that lie ahead, they need to see how we're handling our challenges, how we're showing up for ourselves. how we are staying strong and not pretending that everything is okay, but sharing that maybe we're asking God for help. Maybe we're leaning into others for courage. We're sharing our story so others feel comfortable walking on the same road with us. And that is such an empowering feeling. And just sit with that. Just sit with that. You are literally talking right now to the future version of you. How happy would she be if you followed your heart? If you figured out what that heart is and stopped hiding and followed it and be authentic in relationships with others because you stop self-silencing. And the best way to stop self-silencing is to increase your awareness. You can increase your awareness once you understand your behavior and you're aware of it. It's a process. You can journal or talk to a counselor or a coach such as myself, or you can maybe ask yourself some of these questions because the best way to stop hiding is to stop self-silencing. When did you begin to self-silence and why? So that's going back to when I was in relationships and I said that wrong. When I was married and I would shut down, that's me self-silencing. Why did I do that? My parents fight every day about money, still to this age, 54 years later. Every day they fight about money. My nervous system can't handle that. I fought with money with my first two husbands. I won't do that anymore. So I silence myself when it's a hard topic. And I now know this about myself. So I can do the work, which brings me to the next question. Why do I continue to self-silence? It's comfortable. It's, fighting isn't comfortable for me. So there's a couple of elements there, but it doesn't solve anything if I self-silence. What is my greatest fear if I express myself? Hmm, that's a great question to ask yourself. Are you in a situation where it's safe to express your inner truth? Are you comfortable? Are you going to get laughed at? Are you going to get ignored? How are you going to feel? What is your response going to be? And what do you get out of self-silencing? I know I don't even get comfortable. I don't even get comfortable self-silencing, and I think that's huge. So we've talked about self-silencing, but how about honoring your emotions, even anger? Remember how I said I have to ride that roller coaster wave? I don't fix these either. Okay, so let's honor your emotions, even anger. Ignoring, denying, and sitting on uncomfortable emotions are common ways of self-silencing. Because when you're dealing with disappointment, grief, fear, resentment, anger, even if it is self resentment, self anger, in order to break out of self silencing, one of these things you need to do is honor your feelings. You're allowed to feel, you're allowed to have feelings. The feelings don't have to be perfect and they don't have to be pretty. Aw, had to give myself a big hug on that one. Feelings are guideposts. They offer you insight into relationships with others and signs about which path to choose next. The next time you feel an unpleasant emotion, especially when you're tempted to cast aside, breathe into it. Ask yourself what you need instead right now. Instead of hiding, set healthy boundaries. Oh yeah, I promised you I was going to read my goals, didn't I? All right, I'll go over the healthy boundaries and then I'll do it. I promise you. These goals that took me a bit to work on. Then after this, I need to go rest my head because I'm pushing it today. I'm feeling good with this podcast. So set healthy boundaries, guys. One of the ways you can stop hiding is to set healthy boundaries. We were raised to be nice at all costs. Many women fear that if they candidly express their needs and desires, They'll damage or even destroy relationships. In fact, the opposite is true. When you tell people how you're feeling and what you're willing and unwilling to do, you fortify your relationships because people now know what to expect. Anybody listening to this now knows to expect I will not immediately respond because I need to go down, rest my head. I am setting an expectation. I am setting a boundary. That is the same thing with my booking calendar. I will see people certain days of the week within certain timelines. When you stop hiding pieces of yourself, resentment dissipates, self respect increases, and you feel greater freedom. And your partner has the chance to know the real you, not the inauthentic version you've created. All right, it's goal time. Dun, 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 dun. All right, these are the 6 areas I had to pick goals from: body, mental health, friends, family, spirituality, and career. Now you have to understand, I wrote this on a sticky note and I carried this around me all over the house for a week, and I didn't do it till today. All right, my 6 goals that I have come up with over the next 6 weeks to 6 months. The first one, and I did change this one from my original, and I like what I changed it to. So the first one is cycling. So the goal for this one is to increase my cardiovascular. So I want to cycle 3 times a week for 3 months and get my heart rate to 150 and keep it at 150 for the 30 minutes. That will be my goal over the 3 months. Friends, I want to have more shared experiences with my friends. I want to book a play date with my adult friends once a month for 6 months. Mental health. I want to cultivate more gratitude. I want to practice daily gratitudes. I want to be able to write out 3 gratitudes a day, every single day. And that is 3 gratitudes a day for 6 weeks. So that brings me a 6 week, April 24th, 25. My spiritual connection, a goal for my spiritual connection is to spend time in nature, 30 minutes weekly for 8 weeks. Family, offer once a month games night for our family. We're inviting the kids. Maybe we're having friends, but we're inviting the kids as well. Not all of the kids, maybe pockets of kids at a time. Don't know yet because we have 5 kids between us. But that's kind of my goal there for family, whether it's playing cards with my parents, whatever it looks like. Once a month, family games night. It's harder to come up with that one since they're older. Like my kids are all moved out except for the 2 youngest, but they're barely home. And then career. I want to increase client acquisition, which means increase 5 paid clients a month within 3 months. So giving stuff for free. Those are my goals. And I am sharing these goals in this order right here, right now, because the next step I wanted to share with you is prioritizing your own needs, which could very well be your goals. These are my goals. Your mental health goal could be completely different than mine, right? Your spiritual connection could be completely different than mine. I was just thinking about what I was already doing, and I want you to do the same when you're prioritizing your own needs. Self silencers tend to put their needs on the back burner. A lot of it is the burnt toast theory. And if you don't know what that is, I explain it nicely in this book, Your Story Matters. It's a self love, self awareness workbook for women. And it's pretty much, if there's a burnt piece of toast, most moms or dads will eat it instead of making themselves a fresh one because they don't think they're worth it. Hence, self silencers tend to put their needs on the back burner, which is a setup for conflict. You can't continuously put your own needs last and not begin to feel resentment. You'll be able to give more to your partner and to your relationship if you make self-care a priority. Carve out time to do what nourishes you. Take a walk, soak in a hot bath, meditate, visit with a close friend, engage in a favorite hobby or activity. Self-care makes it easier to bring your best self to your relationships, which only you can enhance. And here's a good one. I know they're all good. I put them together. Don't be afraid to disappoint people. You know, when we're hiding, when we're self-silencers, in most relationships, there's going to be time where one person or the other is a little bit more focused. The relationship seems to focus that way or focus this way, or one person doesn't express what they need or they want, especially if you're a self-silencer or if you're hiding for whatever reason. And you might not be able to provide people what they want at the time they require it or to the extent at all. And that's okay. You might not be able to give people what they want. Part of being a healthy adult is recognizing that you're not responsible for other people's happiness. It's a big one. It's also important to recognize that people are resilient. We will bounce back. We will survive. If we're meant to survive, we will be here. Believe me, we will be here. You can also survive disappointment. The next time you fear disappointing somebody, remind yourself that you're not so powerful that you can ruin somebody's entire day or life. Everyone is responsible for their own reactions. Allow people to have their feelings and work on trusting whatever disappointment they experience to pass. It will pass. You need to trust that it'll pass. You will feel better having spoken your truth because you're going to know your worth. If you're going to stop self if you're going to stop self-silencing, you need to feel worthy of having opinions and voicing them. Developing greater self-worth entails developing yourself on a variety of levels: mental, emotional, psychological, physical, social, spiritual, even financial, which is why these were some of my goals. You can have goals in so many areas, but you need to start somewhere. And developing your self-worth in these areas, mental, emotional, psychology, I'm so tired. Psychological, no, we'll skip that one. Physical, social, spiritual, and even financial. So you're going to feel better about yourself. The more confidently you conquer your goals, the more confidently you step into that version of yourself that is no longer hiding, the more confidently you start using your voice, you are going to bring so much more value to your relationship because you've invested in yourself. You are showing up and learning and doing new things. Perhaps you're even pursuing a new hobby, volunteering for an organization you believe in, or changing jobs because your current one doesn't suit you. Know your worth. Seek professional help from someone who can give you and help you identify strengths and help you develop them so you stop hiding that version of you. Speaking of getting support, I might be sitting here sharing with you that I am getting support, but every coach should have a coach. Mhm. Every therapist should have a therapist. Every therapist should have a coach. Whatever it looks like, every coach should have a therapist. I have therapists. Well, actually, I have therapists right now. I have ebbed and flowed between coaches and therapists. It's all based on the person I'm working with, but we all need somebody. And on the flip side, I do this work with others. So we all need that professional support to help us grow out of the space that we're in and stop hiding. You know, having an objective mental health professional, a counselor, a coach, a therapist who can understand what it's like, and they can identify what self-silencing patterns you're going through. Because at that point, they'll be able to help you identify how they originated. And they can also help you reframe self-sabotaging beliefs, which is why I chose these goals, and make behavioral modifications, because we need to make those changes in order to grow our confidence, in order to step into that person who's no longer hiding. My friends, the process may be challenging at times, but in the end, the personal growth journey that you're on right now is going to provide you with so much experience and empower you to stop shortchanging yourself, because you deserve so much more. So, dear listeners, what's hiding costing you? It's time to shine a light on those shadows, to embrace your whole, beautiful, and perfect self. Remember, vulnerability is not weakness, it's a superpower. And also, ah, lay off the cheese a bit. Just a suggestion. Ah. Until next time, stay holistic, stay hilarious, stay you. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Unless you're still hiding how much you love the episode, then just subscribe. Guys, I really appreciate you. I appreciate whether you are on my YouTube channel, whether you're on my TikTok channel, if you're following me on LinkedIn, or if you just show up and listen to podcasts every once in a while. I'm giving you a little piece of my heart today and every day. My name is Sonia. I am a holistic health coach here to empower you to show up as the best version of you.